Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heads Together. I am your host, Bonnie Low-Kramen, and I am here with Jennifer Wilner. And we're both in New Jersey today. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Bonnie.
Oh, what a crazy world this is. So excited about today's show. I've invited one of our stellar B2A students to be our guest today to talk about his career and talk about the work he does in Milan, Italy. Now, Jen, how many B2As have you been to?
Oh, I've lost track, but quite a few in New York.
And all of them in New York City. And at each one, we tend to have international students. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I met Lizzie for the first time
Lizzie
in New York.
Nanjui.
Yeah, and it was cool. It's cool to, I kind of get beforehand getting the feeling of knowing people and it's a name, but then meeting them in person and talking to them and hearing their voice and seeing their face, like it's so empowering. And we've kept in touch and
that was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you've collaborated on things.
We have collaborated on some things. Yeah. She did some services so we've tried to help each other out.
Yeah. So I want to welcome our guests from all over the United States and the world. Welcome Marion and Joy. And Joy is going to be coming to B2A Colorado Springs later in the year in November. We still have seats available in case you are interested in coming to Colorado Springs. Today, our listeners and viewers get to meet Marco Macente. And I first met Marco at B2A in Brussels, Belgium, in November of 2019. So just a matter of months before the world kind of blew up. And Marco was not the only male assistant at B2A in that class, but there were two males. So he and Peter, as I recall, they fulfilled our demographic, which is, has held firm 95 to 98% female. So welcome to everyone tuning in today. You are in for a real treat. Our guest is just filled with information that is useful and it's so interesting to learn about assistants who are working in other countries. And spoiler alert, we all have so much more in common than not. Heidi's here from Montana and Beth, and it's so great having you here. Hi, Denise. So I want to tell you a little bit about Marco Macente, who's coming to us today from Milan, Italy. He's all of 30 years old. And when we met in Brussels, he hadn't even cracked 30 yet. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, so many people in the room wished they had this information when they were 30 years old. And so I've always felt extra excited about knowing the journey that Marco is on. He's been working as an EA for almost 10 years, and 5 of them in the pharmaceutical business. He graduated in economics and business communication, and he took a master's course in corporate communication at the University of the Arts in London, England. You're going to hear how well traveled he is. And I made a mistake in social media when I wrote that he's fluent in 3 languages. He's actually fluent in 4 languages. And he's going...
Slacker.
Such a slacker. So crazy. Now, he describes himself so accurately: empathic, business-oriented, and trustworthy. In the time I've known Marco, those are exactly the words to describe him. He's currently working as global executive assistant at Bayer Pharmaceuticals out of Milan. And that is a title that he negotiated. And I suspect he's going to tell us about that, how he negotiated his own title. He's been really making big moves. He supports senior managers and leaders in the oncology business unit. And he is a strategic liaison with external and internal stakeholders. He loves traveling, which you'll hear about. networking. I can vouch for that. He completely, within 5 minutes, he completely charmed everybody at BTUA Brussels. And he loves learning foreign languages. He's fluent in English, Spanish, Greek, and of course, Italian. He's eager to learn and endures challenging projects. So he goes to his managers and advocates for new projects. And I just love that about him. Please give a warm virtual welcome to Marco Macente. Yay.
Hi, hello, greetings from Italy.
Welcome to Heads
Hello,
Together.
thanks a lot, Bonnie. I'm so excited. I'm so honored to be your guest today. Thanks a lot.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you here, Marco. And we, thankfully, because of Zoom and Teams, we've been able to see each other in the time since we met. But it's, as a way, though, to get our audience to get to know you better. I've come up, as a tradition here, we do those rapid fire questions. So are you game? Can we do a few with you?
Absolutely, yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Your fans are in the chat already, waving hello to you and saying hi.
Hi,
So
everybody.
let's hear. So who's your favorite music artist or group?
Well, I would say Coldplay.
Coldplay. Okay. Favorite vacation spot?
Patmos, an island, Greece, obviously.
How many times have you been there?
Twice.
Oh, just twice. Okay.
Yes, because
and you're headed there in a month, right?
Yes. I discovered it 2 years ago, and I decided to go there twice because it was so beautiful, the island, and I wanted to take my time to discover it very well.
That's awesome. What's your favorite dessert?
Tiramisu.
No surprise. Great Italian dessert, right?
Yeah.
If you could have one book on a deserted island, what would it be?
I would say Robinson Crusoe. I love this book. Yeah.
Wow, that very, very appropriate for a desert island, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite app on your phone?
Well, Google Drive, absolutely. I was keen on learning all the Google apps and all the Google tips and tricks that we have, and Google Drive is always at my hand.
Yeah. Now, is your work at Bayer? Are you on? Are you a Google shop, as Vicki Evans would say?
I mean, we have some corporate app and corporate programs that we use for corporate use that to follow some policies, but I use on my end the Google app because it's very useful, especially when we have to share documents, to share spreadsheets, to take some notes. So it's a very good kit that we can use for executive assistants, absolutely.
That's awesome, especially now since everybody is, because you're still working at home, right?
Yes, I'm working remotely.
Yeah, right. And I'm just going to take a quick second to say hello to all of our viewers from all over the world. Brenda saying tiramisu, me too.
Good choice.
What's your favorite movie, Marco?
The Horse Whisperer.
Oh,
Yes, I love this.
that's
movie.
Robert Redford, yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Do you ride horses?
Yes. That's why also I fell in love with this movie because I'm riding horses, especially in spring and in summer when the weather is absolutely good. To do that.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie forever. Least favorite sound?
I would say the sound caused by the traffic noise in the city.
By the what?
By the traffic noise.
Oh,
that
the
we have.
traffic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you live in the city?
Yes, I live near to Milan. I don't have. My city is not so big, but I don't like this kind of sounds, this kind of noise that they're saying.
Yeah, that's one of the things you like about Greece, right?
Yes.
You hear the water. I love that. And tell us one thing that people would never guess about you.
Well, I speak Greek, and in 2020, I decided to go to Greece to take my certificate of attainment in Greek. And I decided to do that because with this certificate, I will be able to go to Greece and to work there and even open my own business. So this is something that I decided to do out of the blue because I at the moment I have this as a project, but I wanted to get certified in Greek.
Well, tell
So
everybody what getting certified means in Greece. What does that mean?
it means that you have to apply to be enrolled in an official exam that it takes place at the embassy in Greece. And you need to do a test that takes you 4 hours, each hour for each competency, each capability, speaking, listening, writing, and understanding the language. And if you pass all these tests, you get your certificate and you are able to work in Greece as a foreign person and even open your own business. And this is something that I wanted to do before the pandemic, but I didn't think that during the pandemic I was able to get the certificate and to travel to Greece and to do that.
Very good. Well, the truth is that when we met in Brussels, I remember thinking, this guy is going to be a CEO one day. I remember having that thought. And you just said that, you could have your own business. Have you thought about by what age you want to own your own business? Because you're 30 now.
I would say 30, 43, 44. I would say 43, 44.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because, all right.
Yes, I will need it before. I will need first going to Greece and, make my plan and understanding how to create a business case.
Right.
And then I will be able to run it. So it takes time, but
13, 14 years. I mean, one thing about, we talk about B2A, you say it out loud and you make a plan and put it in paper. It's a really good shot that you're going to get it done. So when I'm going to let us switch into our main questions. And I want to say with everyone on the call, if you have questions, comments for Marco, please put them in the chat. Jen is going to be supporting us, and Marco is happy to answer any question that's on your mind. I want to begin with the pandemic, that when it hit, it seemed like Italy was in the news immediately, that Italy was one of the first countries that was so hard hit. And I thought it would be interesting for you to tell us how that was for you and what's happening right now in Milan. And you're at a pharmaceutical firm, so you are like really up on what happened, and are there any lessons that you and your team now know that you're going to be able to use for the next time?
Yes, absolutely. Well, as you said, Italy was one of the first countries that was hit by the pandemic. I remember that the coronavirus arrived in Italy in January, and we were in a complete official lockdown on the 2nd of March. So just 1 month, February, to let us understand that everything was changing in our lives. I'm sure that many people here recall the pictures that we saw in the news, in the televisions, with the truck full of died people. And this happened just 30 kilometers from here. So my area, all the Milan area was affected by the coronavirus, by the pandemic. So it was terrible. It was horrible. It seemed to me that I was living in another country, in another world, because we were not prepared, definitely, to face such a kind of tsunami. So I remember that my company told us to work remotely soon, but no policies, no procedures were in place. So I remember that we needed to adjust ourselves to this kind of work. And I have some lessons learned, absolutely. And one of these is communication is key. I remember that I was told to wrap up, to collect information, to be able to prepare something that was able to sum up the situation of the team, because each member of my team was working remotely. So I remember that the main activity that I was asked for was to prepare communication, information, to create meetings in order to catch up one with each other. So absolutely, communication plays a pivotal role. And more than ever, I can say that the pandemic has taught us that the communication is very important.
Yeah.
Another second thing is that we should not take things for granted, even the little thing. The pandemic has taught that we should be grateful. Gratitude is absolutely an important quality, and being able to appreciate the little things is absolutely important, and especially when we were with our families at home during the lockdown. And so this is something that I remember, and I wanted to share this also with you.
Yeah. Do you think you're prepared for, because it's generally thought that there's going to be a next time, a next crisis. Do you believe that your team and the company will be better prepared? Because, you said that you were not prepared. I mean, a lot of companies were not prepared for this, for the pandemic. Will you do it better next time? Are there systems in place now?
I would say that yes, in a certain way, we will better prepared. We will be better prepared because we have already one crisis, but we are not always prepared to face a crisis. That's why a lot of things needs to be done. And I would say that there is no experience to be really prepared when facing a crisis. The only thing that we can do is to take the lessons learned, to try to apply what we have learned, but we need to we need to adjust ourselves, and we need to facilitate the change, because actually the pandemic has been a change for all of us. So
Big time.
yes, being able to be flexible, our approach will make the difference. I think that.
Yeah. Interesting. So I want to ask you a couple more things, and I see the questions in the chat, which are really interesting as well. I want you to share with the audience how. So here we were in this pandemic. Italy got slammed, and in the middle of it, you advocated for a new title, and you got promoted. Could you tell us the story about how did you do that during a pandemic?
Well, I would say that I knew that the role of executive assistant, and in general, our role has been changing during these years.
Yes.
And the pandemic has changed it a lot. And I was able to speak up, and I was able to work on myself, because I think that in my case, self-confidence, awareness, and curiosity were the three ingredients that let me be able to speak up and to be ready to
say those three ingredients again. What are those three ingredients?
Self-awareness, confidence, and curiosity. These are three my ingredients that I use. That was my recipe. I was able to speak up, I remember, and I was able to share with my manager my willingness to learn more and to discover a role that was more product related. And I was able to see myself and to envision my role to something more project related, something more business related. And sharing this with my manager, I also want to thank my manager, because absolutely she was able to believe in me, to trust me, and she was able to liaise with the leadership team, and I was able to cover a new role in a special assignment as a project partner. And you know that my desire, I shared it during the QA, was to be an executive business partner, to be a business partner, to be a person who a manager can rely on, to be an advisor and ally. And this change and this special assignment really gave me the opportunity to envision what I really want to have in my role, to be a business partner. In this case, working on projects, on things that are irrelevant for business.
Right. Well, congratulations on doing that. When you pitched it, did you put it in writing, or was it all verbal? I'm curious.
I when I had this conversation with my manager, I prepared myself because I really know that we have to be prepared. We have to engage in our conversation, our manager. So in order to be and to have this approach, I have prepared myself. I have listed things that I'm capable of. I was also listing something that I thought I was able to do, having some competencies and skills in my skill set, absolutely. And having these prepared and written down, I think that these enabled me to be prepared to have such a kind of conversation with my manager. So absolutely, preparation is key.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Through this pandemic, some assistants have been reluctant to push too hard, about any changes in job descriptions. But what's so great to highlight is that you saw the need, you saw a need, and you filled that need. So that's great. Give us a sense of, are you the only male assistant at Bayer in Milan, or are there others? And how is that for you? Because there's a question in the chat about the use of pronouns, how that's been a trend recently about, males putting in preferred pronouns, et cetera. So could we talk a bit about being a male assistant and what that experience has been for you, Marco?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in Italy, being a male executive assistant is pretty much a uniqueness because, as per what I know, in Bayer, in Milan, actually, there are no male executive assistants. So I am the only male. And even I would say also that even in Italy, we have few males executive assistants. The trend is changing because I'm seeing that, for example, in the US and in London, now males want to take this profession on, and we have a lot of now more males that are executive assistant. But I would say that in Italy, this is pretty much a uniqueness. Yeah. So from my side, I'm comfortable working with women because covering this role for 10 years. I have been working as an executive assistant for almost 10 years, so I have worked mostly with females, so I'm totally comfortable with that. But I agree with you on saying that if we have more men in the profession, we will be able to be, we as a team, as a global team, will be able to have different perspectives, to have different mentalities, also to have a great exchange between all of us, because absolutely having different people coming from different backgrounds enables us to be prepared and to be able to share more things about our work and our professions. So absolutely, this is going to change, and I'm very optimistic for the future.
Well, that's awesome. The question in the chat has to do with the use of pronouns in, email signatures and on LinkedIn profiles, and it speaks to the attention on diversity, inclusion, and equity, and being sensitive to people who are, transgender, homosexual, whatever, whatever it is that's accurate for you. Is that in use in Milan? Tell us about that. Is that a subject that the company is addressing? The whole
yes, absolutely. Diversity and inclusion is a very important theme, and I would say that also to underline how this is important, I wanted also to share that I joined an internal community that is called Wise Guys, and WISE stands for Women in Science Exchange. And this is an internal community that was born in US because there was made a research, and it was discovered that the percentage of women employed in scientific and managerial roles was not balanced, respecting compared to the to the males that were covering the same roles. So an internal community was born, and WISE Guys stands for Women in Science Exchange, and has the purpose to create a culture in research and development of promoting and advocating for gender inclusion, diversity, and equality. Absolutely. And I wanted to join this community because, as you know, we need to be the change that we want to see in our workplace. So I wanted to take the action and I wanted to also being part of something bigger than me. And this internal community is something that I thought it was important for the workplace itself.
Sure.
So, and this is a positive signal, I would say, that highlights how the company pays attention to such a kind of important topic nowadays.
And how often do you meet? How often and it's called Wise Guys. I love the title. I love it. Yes. How often do you all meet?
On monthly meetings. We have monthly meetings, virtual coffee meetings, in which it's very funny because there are, it is a virtual background, such as a bar, such as a restaurant, in which you can choose the table. Each table has got a topic. So if you want to choose a topic that you want to share and you want to discuss with other colleagues, you can choose. A menu in advance is shared, which is obviously the agenda. And from the menu, you can understand the themes that will be discussed.
Amazing.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
You sent me information on Wise Guys, and Marco, you said that, we're going to share your LinkedIn profile. If people are interested in this, you're fine with folks contacting you, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. But, you sent me information, and, the commitment of the group of women and men is be aware that you, Marco, commit to treating women and men with respect and promote gender equity in the workplace. Like, hello, you're saying it began in the United States, but now it's in Milan. Just to answer the question, though, is it a best practice, or is it being done to include pronouns in email signatures and on LinkedIn profiles of, Italians?
No, I would say no. This is not gonna happen at the moment. But
I didn't think so, but.
Yes, actually. And but the three assets of the internal community, as you said, are being an ally, being aware, and being accountable. So I would say that these three assets are important if we wanted to address the needs that we need, the needs that we have in our workplace. So absolutely, this is very important.
So Claudia Hesk, who's a B2Aer, she's asking, the people who know me, she's saying, do you think having more male EAs will help with the pay levels? Absolutely. And Marco, we just heard that you advocated for a new title and a promotion. What do you've heard my take on this. What's, as a male assistant, what's your take on this?
Yes, I think that this can help absolutely for pay equals and the equality in all the aspects of the work, and pays, and we know wages are things that are very important for us. So I would say that having more men into the profession will help to balance many aspects, and this will be one of the aspects that will be balanced in our workplace. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm curious to know that when your team and it got out that, you had a new title and you got promoted, did you have fellow executive assistants come to you and say, how did you do that? Have you been consulted with other colleagues about how you are on such an upward trajectory so fast?
Well, yes, I would say that we have an internal group that we created because there were no groups for executive assistant. So I decided reaching out to other colleagues based in US to create this internal group. We called it an executive assistant forum. We meet regularly on monthly basis, and we share, experiences, tips, things that pertain to our role. And the group is very informal, so we have open communication and we share a lot of things. I have colleagues that are interested also in understanding how is the perspective being an executive assistant in Milan, and we share a lot of information, a lot of perspectives, and they understand that when there is a passion and when there is the willingness to raise the bar, things are going to happen. Things are going to come. So absolutely.
Now we talk about these internal networks a lot. When did the one that you're in start?
I mean, speaking about the internal.
When did it begin? When did the group begin?
for the executive assistant, the one. Yes, during the pandemic, in April 2020, we had
April of
this.
2020. And you started it?
Yes, I started it. Yes,
He started it.
Yes,
Please, everybody, notice, like, this is taking initiative. And how many times have we heard on Even Heads Together that these groups have been born during the pandemic? And so, clearly Marco's leaders are noticing that he's doing these kinds of initiatives. So good for you. Congratulations on that, Marco. Amazing. I know Brenda has a question, but earlier on, well, let's take Brenda's and then we're going to go back to one that came earlier, Jen, about Marco's favorite responsibilities as an assistant and maybe not so favorite. Marco, what do you think about Brenda's question?
Yes, my being an executive assistant, I really love doing things that are strategic related. So I would say that meeting management, email management, and calendar management are the things that can make the difference, because you, as an executive assistant, can bring to the table an added value, and you can manage up your manager with those kind of activities. And these kind of activities can also help your manager to be successful as best as he or she can possibly be. So these are absolutely the things that I would say are important for me.
Yeah.
Things that I less love doing, I would say expense reports, because I don't love doing something that is very routine. But yeah, we have less troubles, we have less events, so expense reports now are not a great part of the job, I think, for many executive assistants all around the world.
So had your managers, your executives, have they expressed surprise to you about how much more successful they're able to be because of you?
I mean, not directly, but my manager, I think that she is able to understand an added value that an executive assistant can have. And I mean, she shares with me constantly feedback and things that allow me to understand which is the right direction that I have to take. So, and even giving me more responsibilities is also a sign that she trusts me and that she let me be on the same page. So absolutely, partnering is something that is very fulfilling. So when I get this with my manager, I would say that I am done. I would say I'm very satisfied.
Aha, cool. Jen, let's take Brenda's question. And then there was also one earlier, right around the question about favorite things. What do you think about this, Marco?
Yes, working with different cultures. This is a very high topic because I'm working in a global department and most of my colleagues are based in US. So, and in Germany, absolutely, because the Bayer headquarters is in Germany. So different cultures can be, we have to pay attention when we communicate with people that belong to different countries and that have different backgrounds. And I have learned it as well because Bonnie, we shared some histories a couple of months ago. You need to have you have to have a communication pathway open. You have to have a communication line, because with open communication, sharing your intentions is always key in order to build the right bridges, even with the people that belong to the different countries. So I would say building bridges is key when working with people that have different backgrounds and are based in different countries.
Yeah.
And building bridges is always something that starts from you and starts from sharing, starts from wanting to build something that are business related as well. So when we can find this common ground, it will be easier for us to build this kind of bridges. And I love working with people that are based in different countries because it's always enriching. It's always enriching. You can't finish a meeting and say, I have not learned anything, because when you have these cross-borders meetings with people that are based in different countries, you learn everything. You learn at every time there is a piece that you can take.
Tell us one thing you've learned about a different culture. Can you give us an example?
Yes, absolutely. Don't take the communication for granted. Absolutely. So when I have the passion for something, and when I have something that I want to share, I need to embrace it, to pause, and to calibrate myself in order to communicate this very well. So absolutely, managing the communication is the first step, I would say, in order to give the best impression of you to the other people with whom you are working, actually. So absolutely.
Cool. Jen, but I can't keep up with the questions. Can you help me here? Aha, go ahead.
What is the biggest challenge you're faced with professionally at this time? Well, I would say in the beginning, it was to be on the same page with my manager, because I used to see my manager in the office face to face, and having a meeting face to face with your manager is something different than meeting your manager virtually. And in the first month of the pandemic, I needed to adjust because in a face to face meeting, you have a lot of signals. You know how to speak. You have the gestures. You have sounds. So you things. Yes, but when you meet your manager virtually, it is not so easy to be on the same page. So I would say that also I needed to adjust this aspect, and in order to be on the same page, to understand what were the right needs of my manager, I needed to listen more, to look for something more in the pieces that I had, speaking about emails, speaking about the information. And this was not so easy in the beginning.
Interesting. Jen, I think we've got a few more in there. Your buddy Sherwin from Africa. From South Africa. Hey, Sherwin.
Hi, Sherwin. I know him. Hi, Sherwin. Hi, Marco. Yes.
Why do you not think that males don't see this as a career?
Well, I think because there are a lot of stereotypes around our role, and we need to clean up these stereotypes, Bonnie. And this has to be challenged by ourselves first.
Yes.
So these stereotypes are not helping us. And I would say that don't be, if there are men listening to us that want to take this profession on, this is not a simple job. This is a profession that can bring satisfaction, and establishing a great partnership with your manager is absolutely key. So, and it is also a role that allows you to work 360 degrees in many, many, many different fields, because we know that being an executive assistant, we have to coordinate, we need to manage, we need to plan, and we need to do a lot of things behind the scenes. So absolutely, I would say that an admin role, an executive assistant role, can be very fulfilling and can be very challenging if a person wants to take some challenges over.
So we need to break those stereotypes. And
yes.
I completely agree with you. And I know Sherwin's on the call, and Dusty Klesner is on the call. I like to think that this show, Heads Together, can contribute to that conversation and to help break the stereotypes that deserve to be broken once and for all, and for this profession to be seen as a viable profession. And if there's anybody on this call who is involved with mass media, because I think one thing that would really help is if we had, an article in the mass media, in a business publication highlighting male assistants and in part of the evolution of the profession right now. So I'm just putting it out there. I believe in planting seeds out in the world. Sherwin is saying not just a girl's job, right? It isn't. There can be big money here. Truly, 6-figure jobs are happening all over the world. I hear it all the time. Marco, as you know, at the age of 30, you've been working for almost 10 years. This has just been an unprecedented last year. When you look ahead, tell us what you're worried about and what are you excited about? Is there something that is concerning you besides the stereotype issue, which I think is legit.
Yes.
Is there anything else?
Yes, I would say that the role is changing, that has changed during these last years. One of my fear is that first, we needed to embrace this change. We needed to understand that our role is changing, and we need to understand the difference between being a translational assistant to the transition that we need to do, being an admin assistant, a translational assistant, to a strategic role, to a strategic executive assistant. So we need to understand how to fill the gaps. We need to understand how to be a business partner. This is the change that I see. And I would say that we need to understand it and we need to embrace this change. And trainings is the solution in most of the time, because attending trainings, understanding how we can behave as executive business partners, how we can be professional in our covering our role, it is key. Absolutely, it is key. So I would say that this is something important.
Cool. Well, along those lines, I mean, you came from Milan to Brussels. I can't remember. Did you fly or did you take the train when you came to B2A?
I flew.
You flew. So you believe in training. You've continued to commit to lifelong learning. Talk about that. How was your experience at B2A in that room, and just how did that help you, move forward?
Yes, absolutely. As you said, I took the B2A in November 2019 in Brussels, and when I was looking for a training, I was looking for something that made me the possibility to make a quality leap and to formalize the transition that I was having as executive business partner. And I really paused, and I was able to understand the difference between a training, between a workshop, masterclass, and I chose to get a workshop. BTUA is a workshop in which theory and practice are balanced, a workshop in which there are a restricted number of people coming from many countries. And this is one of the things that I appreciated a lot, because I remember that we were 26 delegates coming from 9 countries. So it was amazing. It was a room full of experiences. The atmosphere was really international. And I really think also that trainings should also take not just 10-15% of our working time in a year, but I'm committed to attending a lot of trainings, because I think that training should take also to take 35% of our working time. And we have different things that now we can do. I took BTUA, now there is the possibility to do it virtual, but I think that we need to understand what is the need that we need to cover, what is the need that we need to meet. When we have the need in place, then we can choose the right trainings that suit our needs.
So let me ask you, did your leaders, did you have to fight for training dollars, or was it easy? You're saying 35% of your time should be spent in training. Do your leaders agree? How did that go down?
Yes. My leaders agree that trainings are important. I'm not able to propose everything, absolutely. I needed to prepare a business case, as many of us that are working in international companies, because you need to prove that if there is an investment, the company is investing rightly on giving you the possibility to attend this kind of training. So absolutely, it's not so easy. And but when you have the business case in place, and when you have the willingness to prove that there are a lot of advantages having you attending a certain training, I think that this is most of the job that we have to do when asking for trainings. And also, we need to commit for ourselves, and we need to stand for ourselves when we need to negotiate maybe something, or maybe when we need to ask for trainings, because we need also to understand, and we have to have a development plan in place. So we need also to prove that we started in that place and we want to reach from A, for example, to Z. So we need to understand how to reach our Z. And we
Wow.
need to find our why. We need to find our why. We need to find our purpose. If we find our why, if we find our purpose, we will be able also to share and to envision this our purpose in our daily work. So absolutely,
Wow.
this is the
Well, I was going to ask you final thoughts. I mean, I still do, but I am blown away by, the whole notion of finding your why and finding your purpose. And then that will help us move on. Jen and I were working on a graphic earlier today. I love the Mark Twain quote about the two best days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why.
yes.
So
Yes.
I'm so proud of you, Marco, as you have, come this far and you're only 30 years old. The mind boggles when I think about your future. So as we wrap up today, do you have a favorite quote, or are there some last thoughts you would like to leave our audience with?
Yes, my favorite quote is people who are able to shine from within do not need a spotlight. Absolutely. So we need to find our light. Our light is our why. And if we are able to shine from within, we won't need a spotlight, definitely, because we will have our why, our light that will stand for us.
Amazing.
Thanks a lot.
Well, Marco, I suspect that there will be many people from this session who will be communicating with you. I thank you so much for sharing your evening with us. And I know that our viewers and listeners got a lot out of today. We have been recording, and so you are welcome to stay connected with Marco, and he's obviously has a lot to share. Although not in 2 weeks no, not in a month, because he's going to, where are you going for 2 weeks?
To Greece, less than 2 weeks.
To his favorite place.
Yes.
So next week we will be back, and the subject next week, my friends, is the queen bee syndrome and women and how we behave with each other in this workplace. Talk about stereotypes that need to be broken really fast. That's one. And we have a very special guest, Susan Pomponio, who has been, a listener. She's come to training, and she has become a very close colleague. So we're very excited to have her. Jen Wilner, thank you so much for your help from behind the scenes, as always. Marco, again, thank you so much. And you can look for the replay on social media. And I hope to see all of you here next week on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have comments for me in the meantime, Bonnie@BonnieLow-Kramen.com. Go to our website, BeTheUltimateAssistant.com. We'd love to have you at any and all the trainings that we're doing. We're doing BTUA virtual on July 8 and 9, and we'd love to have you with us. So again, Marco, thank you. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot, Bonnie. It has been a pleasure to be with you. Thanks a
Mwah.
lot.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.